Slange y'all, and welcome to Scotch on the Bayou. I am Leanne, and it's another Tuesday night down here in Baton Rouge, and it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. We're starting to get holly and frou-frou stuff. We have to buy that down here. We don't have normal cold weather Christmas looking stuff in South Louisiana. So, yeah, I think today was 78 degrees. You can tell from my hair that it was a little humid too. So, welcome everyone. I'm thrilled to be here. We have a fabulous show. I'm so very excited. We got a video birthed out there this week, this morning. So we're excited about the holidays coming up. And tonight, as I made a call out on socials announcing tonight's show, gather all those samples up because we're gonna make us a whiskey advent calendar. And it's that time of year. It's easy because we all have the one thing that we need. We all have some whiskey, right? And they're usually in these lovely little bottles, these sample bottles. And so we'll get more into that. You'll hear lots of noises. I have more bottles on this desk than I've got room to do anything with. So, but let's go into the chat. I want to see who all is here and joining us tonight. And my bud from the west side over there down at I-10. Hey, just go through that cabinet. I've seen that cabinet. I know what's in that cabinet, Jennifer. Thanks for being here, my friend. And a little more south than Scotch. Yes. So Troopers just down to Bayou from us for sure. Hey, Katie. Good to see you. Hope you and Ethan are doing well. I got to see them over the holidays and over Thanksgiving, and they were Santa's elves on a particular couple of items that will be under the tree. So good to see my husband Mark is always there helping me out. Good morning to you too, Andrew. Thanks for being here. I know you've got lots of samples in and around, so should not be a problem at all for you to start that advent calendar. And hey, Barton, Slange y'all to you, friend. Super excited to have you here. Got lots of camp drammers. I love it. I love it. Hey, Doug, good to see you. I got to meet Doug at the Louisiana Bourbon Festival, among other places. Hey, Chuck, another Camp Drammer. Awesome. And everybody's coming out the woodwork today. Hey, Chad, great to see you. I can only imagine the number of sample bottles that you have. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. But yeah, oh, and here's one of my other buds. Hey, good to see you, Kevin. Thanks for being here. We're talking all about sample bottles. I've been on a kick for a while, and especially on Instagram for a couple of years, I've done things with the hashtag drink your samples because I'm so guilty of it. I'm so bad about it. And I'm going to bring a guest on here in a bit who is responsible for a lot of my samples. And I feel like guilty, but I also want to give the sample its due. I just don't want to drink it to drink it. And I know, yes, you're supposed to drink the whiskey and all of that, but I want to give it the respect and to really go through it. And to do that, I feel like I need time. And, you know, time's getting tough to find now that the world's coming back awake and everything. So tell me what all y'all are drinking. And hey, brother, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I am actually drinking a sample from my guest, and I have to get my glasses on. So in the video today, I'm going to throw this up here real quick. So today I released Make a Whiskey Advent Calendar DIY style. So, I've got a couple of DIY videos out there. One is how to make a nosing kit, and the other is how to make a glass holder with all those whiskey tubes we have that pile up everywhere. So check those out if you haven't seen. Both make really great gifts. One takes no time at all. The other takes a little effort and scrounging up different stuff. But this DIY is super easy and fast, and it's all based on samples. And so the sample that I have, and I talked about in the video, is this guy has the best label game there is. Distillery and company, the brand, the batch, the age, type, region, ABV, and the day the bottle was opened is amazing. Not only that, but you get Artie, the cutest rabbit in all the world, on there as well. And it's gonna, yeah, it'll get there in a second. Arr, let's get in there. So amazing. Come on, camera. You can do better. You can do better. Okay, never mind. So yeah, it's great. This particular one is Scotch Malt Whisky Society, SMWS, Splinter Studded Spanking. This is a family show, not really, but where is it? It is 39.185. It's a Linkwood 12-year Speyside. And looking at it, I'm guessing probably it's definitely got some sherry in it. It's a little darker than I would have even thought, like a second fill. So I would guess, and even the smell too, I would guess we would be thinking first fill sherry. Oh man, so good. So very good. So looking at what folks are drinking here, Jennifer's got just a smidge of the SMWS 4278 by the beautiful sea. Go ahead and kill it. You know, that's my name. Go ahead. And this guy has stuff I never even heard of. It's Gordon MacPhail, a Camel 22. Yum. That sounds really good. So yeah, Trooper, just so you know, Kevin's in my neck of the woods. You might need to come back up here and get to meet him. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So I hope that you all have maybe grabbed some samples, and we can kind of walk through this of what we're going to be doing tonight. Oh man, this Linkwood's good. SMWS does a lot of Linkwood, don't you think? Actually, let me bring my guest in because he knows so much about SMWS. In the video, you saw me talk about the most epic whiskey epic calendar. Well, this is the guy. So everyone, please help welcome George Kaplan, friend. Welcome. Hello. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Lee.
I really appreciate it. So I'm really excited. Not only for the first to get here, we can start knocking some of these samples down. But I wanted to kind of converse with you while we walked through the things to do with our samples, because you and I talked a little earlier. We're both very guilty of having lots of samples, right?
Yep. A box full, crammed full. So that Linkwood, I just looked it up. It's 10 years ex-bourbon, and then heavily charred new oak hogshead, char number 4. So
really, that must be where the color's coming from then.
The heavy charring.
Is that heavy char? Yep. Wow. It's not super sweet, so that makes sense now. It really does. But yeah, we you know, when you think about advent calendars and what all's out there, there's a whole lot out and available if you're willing to pay for them. You know, just kind of looking out online, there's some with really fun packaging, similar to when we were kids and we got to open the little door and get the piece of chocolate or a little toy or something like that. And you look at these, that they're really pretty stiff. Some of them are like $200 to $500 usually for like a, I think it was like a 30 cl bottle, you know. So we're talking probably, was that what, ounce and a half, something like that.
It's like a dram. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're wondering, because this is a very small glass. That is not a normal size of glass for ratio. And the other thing about these is remembering to get one. It's the timing, you know. I mean, the holidays, you hit Thanksgiving, and then all of a sudden you've got, well, it's so late this year, literally like 4 days, and then you're in December 1st and you're starting your calendar. So, getting these are great. If someone's not into whiskey and they want to give one as a gift, absolutely, I would love it. I would adore it. And looking at this one, there's, you know, there's a Glenfiddich, there's a Balvenie, there's Tobermory, there's a couple of them, but I don't know where they would fall, if they would be all entry levels or um you know, kind of further up the chain, as far as, you know, different caskings and things like that. So, you know, it's pretty interesting just what all is available. Um, but at $200 or $500, I can get some bottles. You know, so I think that's one of the things I look at is um, trying to put that into perspective and then maybe create your own. And that's where these sample bottles come in, because it's so easy to be able to collect something you already have, you know?
Yeah, and you can make something unique by doing that. A lot of times, the advent calendars that I've seen, it's whiskeys that I might have already had and tried.
Mhm.
So you're looking
Right.
for something unique, and usually the samples that people are sending you, that's what that is. It's a
Yeah,
unique cask or a unique bottle that they want you to try. That's it's probably rare that you couldn't get in your area. So it's a great way to
it really
enjoy
is.
it.
It is. And that's the thing. It's the enjoyment. So earlier and in the video, I talk about the fact that I think mine pile up because I want to take some time. I really want to give it its due and, you know, chill out. I want to get my book and I want to write down my tasting notes and things like that. And I'm just going in and going 90 miles an hour and you don't have time, you know, or I just want something simple to drink. So I go to the old mainstay, you know, and maybe just, you know, knock off the end of a bottle or something like that. I love the fact that this is almost that built-in permission by creating an advent calendar. It's a built-in permission to sit and enjoy the whiskey. If you build one of these, you put one of these together with samples people have given to you. I mean, just as you said, they found something that was really interesting to them. And being able to share whiskey is so much fun. I mean, I don't care which whiskey enthusiast and on this, you know, rectangle box anybody looks at, we all talk about the sharing part of it. We're all beneficiaries of having whiskey sent to us and whiskey shared with us. And then we want to turn around and share that whiskey back, you know? Um, because you get excited when someone has the taste of it. You don't know if they're going to like it as well as you do. It may be something that's just not in your wheelhouse, but you give it to somebody else and they may think it's the best thing ever.
Yeah. I should have learned my lesson, and I have to keep learning it over and over. But a few years ago, I received a sample from Keith, the Malted Man Cave Long Row Red, the
Mm,
Malbec, and I kept that on the shelf. I'm like, I'm going to try this at one point, and I was on one of the live streams watching Scotch for Dummies, I think, and I'm like, what am I going to? I'll go ahead and try this sample. And I tried it, and then I don't remember what they were talking about. I forgot the whole rest of the night because that whiskey was so awesome. I was immediately looking online. Where can I find this bottle? Why have I taken so long to get around to this sample? And luckily, I did find a bottle I could get. They didn't have it in my state, but
oh,
I was able to
wow.
get it that way.
Isn't that amazing? It's almost like a eureka moment. You feel a little guilty that you did wait that long, but you appreciate it so much,
Yeah.
because he went, people that share those, and you've been more than generous of the things that show up on my doorstep that came by an owl or we have herons down here that we have pelicans that have that big pouch that they've just put all the whiskey packages in and then just drop them off at the bayou legally delivered and all.
Hmm.
Yeah, so when I look at those, I mean, and they're things that I would never have known to try, much less, encountered. Like I would never see that some of those things in South Louisiana. And you in particular have sent me the thing that isn't always my wheelhouse, which is bourbon. And there's not been a one I didn't like, which is crazy because it's not usually my thing. But you've also pushed me with some Maker's Mark for sure. I think you gave me a Elijah Craig one, so those types of things are um, good to be able when you do share that whiskey, sharing something that's a little unusual
Hmm.
to be able to kind of push somebody's palate.
Yeah. That's what kind of started me on the first year that I did the advent calendar. I did it as a complete surprise to all the people that I did that with, and I had been very much into SMWS. For one, I like that they can ship bottles to me. I don't have to go to the store. When COVID hit, I wasn't getting out. My wife has some health issues, so we were really trying to keep any illness or sickness away from her. And so the fact that I could have really great whiskey and unique whiskey shipped to me was a huge plus. But I wanted to
Yeah.
share it, so putting together that calendar and including all SMWS or a lot of SMWS was really key for me. Um, and it's been a great experience. We've had people that have joined that all different levels of whiskey experience, and for a lot of them being able to try and discover and find things that they didn't know that they would like, be it a distillery or a type of whiskey, maybe not even whiskey. We've included rums before. Tom Meyer would be happy about that, I'm sure. But so
Yeah.
it's always fun to kind of mix it up.
Yeah, it is. Let me say hey to a couple of folks real quick. So Kevin was in here. So Trooper is having the Highland Park 15. Oh, that's yummy. I'm glad you got a bottle while you could. Evidently it's raining up in Tennessee and a toddy is in call. Y'all stay nice and cold up there because it's South Louisiana down here. Um, Finishing a bottle of Iron Horse Unoaked Chardonnay. Okay, for the Thanksgiving dinner. A sample dram in a sec. You'll have to let me know what that dram's going to be. Um, hey, Loch Ness, thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I really do. Um, Goodness, let's see what else is. Yes, sharing is the best part. This guy shared. You were talking about the Malbec. This guy shared the Pinot Noir at a bottle share, the Longro Red Pinot Noir. It was so good, and one of the members of our bourbon society made bourbon soaked fresh cherries dipped in chocolate, and tasting that Pinot Noir Longro with that uh chocolate covered cherry was the bomb. It
Yeah,
was just so good. I mean, it just like got you all right here. It was just lovely.
yeah. I've had like a holidays. We'll make a chocolate covered. We call it a Clark bar. It's basically
Yeah.
not quite peanut butter brittle, but it's made out of peanut butter, and chocolate covered. Having that with one of the Longrow Reds, the chocolate and the peanut
Mm,
butter. Oh my gosh, just takes it to a whole new level.
yum. Yeah. It's like
Uh,
something about chocolate and a bitter fruit. I mean, or tart fruit. I love that. So for those who haven't seen the video yet, I'm going to run this real quick, so you can so you can see what I call the most epic whiskey event calendar that George has put together now for 3 years, right? So we'll let that roll. But yeah, this gorgeous, gorgeous box. And then was it Jen that did all hand created the wooden inserts?
So the wooden inserts, that's my friend Matthew from Massachusetts
Okay.
made that, and then I told him the exact size we needed. He planed it just right, but then I put the tape around the bottles and it wouldn't fit. So then I had to file it by hand.
Oh no. Yeah. And what I love, and here's my Vanna White assimilation of scratch and then I dropped the quarter. Is this scratch off card that is just absolutely ingenious. I remember opening this up and squealing like a little girl on Christmas because I was like, how in the world did he get scratch off material so we could scratch that off and reveal each bottle?
Yeah. Well, I spent quite a bit of time thinking about this. The key thing, I want it to be really nice. So the idea of having a wooden box was key, and I didn't want something to be like the Abbott calendars that you can get from the store. That's paper. You open it up and then you throw it away once you're done. Maybe the sample
Right.
bottles you keep and reuse, but that's it. I wanted this to be reusable, and so then I was thinking, I don't want to have to label each sample bottle and then have something where they peel off and look at it, because it would be really small print. It's just a 1 ounce sample bottle, and then just kept playing it over in my mind. Talked to a few different people, and then finally somehow this dropped into my head about doing a scratch off. So how can I make my own scratch off? And found some stickers on Amazon, and then it's just printing up the card and making it. So it's turned out really nice. When I first saw your video today, I did cringe though,
Oh
because
no.
no, it's nothing you did, but when you pulled out the sample, at the bottom you got this painter's tape, and I'll tell a little story about that. So you see here, I got Coca-Cola written on this one.
Yeah.
So the second year we did that, we had a few more people, and I wrote on painter's tape abbreviation of what the whiskey was, SMWS and the number, so and so. So we're on day 7, and we had a Zoom call to talk about the whiskeys, and I'm the first one to join. Then Ben joins. It's just me and Ben. He's a new person to whiskey. He's very excited about this, and he says, "So we're drinking Green Spot tonight." And I'm like, "How do you know we're drinking Green Spot? Did you scratch off early? Did you do the revealer?" He goes, "No, it says on the sample bottle." I'm like, "Oh no." Jim, my brother-in-law, had delivered the box to Ben and some of the people that live by him. So when Jim got on, I was giving him such a hard time. I can't believe you ruined the Advent for Ben this year. I mean, the first few bottles he didn't know what they meant because it was just SMWS
Right.
number. But when it got to the Green Spot, he recognized that name. So
Oh,
I was giving him a hard time like you wouldn't believe. 5 minutes in, my buddy Matthew, who made the dividers in the box, joins late. So of course I've got to tell Matthew the story again to give Jim a little bit harder time. And I'm explaining it to him. Says, "Yeah, he's ruined the Advent for Ben this year. Why? Why? Oh, painter's tape. He left it on the bottle." And Matthew, I see him reach over. He goes, "What? Like this?" And I had delivered the box to Matthew. So then I was like,
so you're both guilty.
so I had to eat crow there a little bit, but yeah,
Mm,
we're both guilty. So then this past year, what we did is we come up with different kinds of soda, and that's what we put on the painter's
so you
tape.
have a key of the
So we have a
soda
key of what
equals
soda goes to what whiskey, because you wouldn't believe when you got all these bottles and you're putting all these together, how easy it is to get things mixed up. Because we would put the
I
numbers on the
bet.
top, and we forgot to put, we missed a couple bottles, and like, oh, what is this? Fortunately, we had the painter's tape, so we could tell. I'm going to put that on.
Right.
You're supposed to take it off. Well, this year we did the soda pop. on the bottles, and we just left it as kind of a joke for people
Okay.
to. So
That makes it, because I was like, is this going to start tasting like Dr. Pepper? And I have a real, I haven't gone through and looked at all the names, but do we have an Iron Brew?
no, I
That
I
orange drink from Scotland?
no, that would have been ideal. I went through and tried to pick different sodas from different regions and things like that, but I wanted it to be at least recognizable. I'm sure some of them won't be, but yeah.
It'd be interesting if there's a couple like regional drinks, like a cheer wine from like North Carolina, or
Cheerwine is in there, yes.
is it? I love cheer wine.
Moxie is. I know I've had that in Massachusetts. It's big there, and I think in the Northeast.
Well,
Sundrop is where I grew up in Tennessee.
okay,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
but
I remember Sundrop.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I remember Mountain Dew when it had a hillbilly on it, way
yeah,
back in the day.
that's
The other
big thing.
attention to detail is L for Lee, L for Louisiana, and there was even a quarter, a Louisiana quarter. I
Yeah,
just, the attention to detail. It's just an amazing kit. But as you said, you spent a lot of time preparing that,
yeah,
and putting it together, and it's not only a labor of love, but it's a huge it's I love how you include a cross section of people that and it's just kind of happenstance, but a cross section of people who are in different places in their whiskey journey.
yeah,
Like you were talking about your friend Ben, who's just kind of getting into it. What a way to get into it.
yeah. He's
That's cool.
since found he loves peat. He's texted me. He's got a couple bottles that I was going to suggest to him, and his wife bought for him, the Ben Romick Smoky 12, and then
Mm,
he got the Lagavulin, the 11, though this year's Offerman
yeah.
edition he really likes too. So, but
I've heard good things about that. I haven't had it yet, but I've heard the extra char thing is
yeah,
people have liked
it's
it.
good. It's good.
Lagavulin, I mean, come on. So tell me about the theme. So what was the theme for the first year?
For the first year, I did SMWS because I just had SMWS bottles, and I think what I ended up doing was the big thing is selecting what bottles do I want to have in the calendar. I didn't want to have like all heavy peat. I wanted to vary it up. So one
Mhm.
night peat, then we go into ex bourbon, then sherry, maybe something even completely different. But I think the
Wailing
first
and
year
Coastal.
it was an arc. I went um, the first distillery and the last distillery were the same. Sorry, like
Golly.
that. It kind of went out and back. So if you were paying attention for the first few, you might see the pattern, see it repeat by the time you're done. Um, this
Cool.
year, there's really no pattern per se. It's just kind of an arc and flow in ABV level, in type,
Mhm.
in regions and things like that. Believe it or
And not
not,
necessarily all Scotch either, right?
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Just to make it a little bit different and interesting for people. Last year, one of the big surprises I think for me, not that I didn't like it and think people would enjoy it, but a lot of people really loved Elijah Craig barrel proof. Jim had that bottle, and as he said, the bottle that fell from heaven. He found it on the side of the street, Christmas Day. It must have
Wow.
been in somebody's tailgate or something, and it fell off and miraculously
Oh,
didn't
I thought you
break.
were
It was scratched up.
kidding. It was literally
No,
on the street?
literally, he found it on the
Are you sure
street.
that's not manna from heaven? I mean,
I
come
know,
on.
I know. So we
Wow.
included that bottle, and that was an interesting story to tell that night while we drank it,
Oh my
with
gosh.
everybody. So and that was the interesting thing whenever we had the Zoom calls too, is everybody except for me and Jim, it's blind. They don't know what it is. So we're dropping little hints to try to guess what it is and tease out flavor notes and things like that. This distillery is known for so and so, and then maybe make a guess. And some people, it was surprisingly, would get it spot on. Even people who
Wow.
didn't have a lot of whiskey experience, I think I go back through the notes that we had. I'm like, wow, I can't believe he nailed it almost to the right bottle too. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Man, and I love that interactive. I didn't get to interact a whole lot last year, unfortunately, because I ended up getting COVID, and there was no way in hell I was going to drink those samples in that advent calendar with no taste. I was like, no way. I'm just gonna have to table it and do it later, and have gone through them. There's a couple I still haven't gone through. I haven't scratched everything off yet, but I'm gonna rework my purpose on that. But if you're making your own advent calendar and you've got your own samples and you start pulling things together, different themes, you just kind of do like a quick inventory. I think that's going to be a Sunday afternoon project of mine. I know Mike Highfield gave me so many Ball Blairs. He is the Ball Blair fanboy, and I would love to do
Whiskey
a blind.
shenanigans, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Whiskey Shenanigans, yeah. So, I would love to do just a blind of, some of those and be able to try to, just make notes on it. It's not like one better over the other, but just going through samples, if it's not even the advent calendar, what else can you do with them? And just kinda group them together. Can you do, by region? Can you do it by cask maturation? Can you do it,
Mhm.
the different types of peat in the different regions, a Highland Park and a Talisker and an Isla and a Campbelltown and different things like that. Because I think when you do some of those compare and contrast uh, tastings, whether you do them, side by side or over a few nights, you start picking up those differences, right? Um, and even the other night when we were talking about tasting a bourbon and then going back to a scotch, your mouth feel everything about that, the way you taste those two different whiskeys helps define what that whiskey tastes like to you so that you know the
Mm.
differentiation and you're able to kind of hone in on that a little
Yeah, I
bit.
remember Rich Cannon talking about that. He used to be a bourbon drinker, then he got into Scotch, really liked Scotch. He went back to bourbon, was exploring bourbon, and when he went back to Scotch, it's like his everything just really opened up even more. So the
Yeah.
contrast going back and forth is really good exercise.
I love when people say, "Well, that's different." Well, different's awesome. Like, I don't wanna be the same. I don't ever wanna be the same, you know? So, different, odd's okay too. Lord knows I've been called that many a times. That's alright. Um, it makes me unique, and I think that's where when you are tasting, you can pick up those unique elements. So, if you're going to put together your own advent calendar, then think about what some of those themes might be. And another part of this, your calendar is blinded, except for Ben's and Matthew's. Those two were not. But so you've worked out a complete. I love the whole idea because we do in our bourbon club, we do a lot of tastings, and we like we'll do. I think they've got a 4 gate bourbon one coming up in a couple of weeks. And I had some of that for the first time at our bourbon festival in mid-November, and wow, that
Mm.
you talk about some people playing with their whiskey on some fancy casks. That stuff is delicious. And that's coming from me that doesn't drink corn syrup. But so we dole out. We'll go to one guy's house, and I mean, we're all pouring samples like mad. It's amazing. And for the most part, we have it kind of all segregated, but for a blind, you're not labeling it. So it is more of an issue. And one of the tips I had, if you're going to do a blind for yourself with your samples, having somebody else help out with that, maybe if it's a whiskey person, have them pick out the theme. You can actually just wrap them up and just take the top part of this off and then pour it. Or just, if you have someone who's not into whiskey, a spouse or whomever, somebody in the general region old enough to handle whiskey, let's put it that way, they can just take a piece of paper and just pick some. Because it's blind, you're going to be there to taste whatever that bottle happens to be for that day. And it would be really easy to do. But I think it doesn't have to be blind. That's the thing. You can just literally go find 25. And I like how yours is 25 and not 24, because I think you ought to have a dram on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It's had you ever with a lot of family, you might really need that dram. Just saying, you know. But yeah, to just take 25 and work through them for sure.
Sometimes coming up with a theme is the hardest part, where you would spend the most time. It just depends on how detailed you want to be about it. Believe it or not, we've poured in July the bottles for next year.
Really?
Next year is going to be a movie theme, so it's either the title of the whiskey or there's something about it that will correlate with that particular movie. Might not be a movie you know or like or care about, but
All I would say is, I mean, because you've heard this through the Dummies and Soup. My husband's been in a lot of movies as a background artist back in the day. The Raging Cajun Redneck Gator, that must be one. I'm telling you, it's got to be one.
don't know
You can see
that
it.
one made the list, but
You can see that probably about 2 a.m. on the Sci-Fi Channel, folks. Just, he gets no royalties. I'm not plugging anything. He's not going to get a dime from it. I promise you. So Martin finally finished his wine off, and now he's on. Dude, seriously? You're killing me here. So I sound like Broda, like I'm quoting movies here. Warehouse 9 Tour Haben. 31 year Oloroso finish. Good gravy. I can only imagine. Good for you. Just enjoy the hell out of that Buna. So Chad says it started to snow. What? Sipping on a 12-year Brooklighty Kensington Market. I've learned. You've taught me what Kensington Market is. I'm so impressed. I have to go look at that. Used mash, Pelican, Oxbridge, and Optic barleys. Interesting. First fill Burmacast, spicy, warm, and different. So I made a I was kind of laughing about this, and I don't want you to take this in the best way, George, but George's labels on his samples are just absolutely divine. I mean, they are so come on. Camera.
It couldn't, to be honest, it couldn't be more simple, but it's just a
There
spreadsheet.
we go. Is this not gorgeous? Look at this. It's so fun. I was laughing to myself that I'm so surprised you didn't have the genus species of either the barley or the yeast on there.
No. Well, for me, the bottle open date, it's something I track in my spreadsheet. I keep an inventory of what I have when I open the bottle, when I finish a bottle. Not necessarily, I should do tasting notes, but I don't feel I'm great at that, to be honest. But I like to keep track of how long it took me to go through a bottle. Some of them, it takes me a long time because I really like the bottle and I want to kind of savor it. Other ones, it may have taken a long time to go through and it was just okay, and I'm finishing it off later. But the bottles, as you know, you've probably said it several times on your channel, they change over time.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I thought it was important, if I'm sharing a sample with someone, to kind of let them know when I open this bottle versus me giving an example. Did I just open the bottle and pour it? a sample to and give it to them. It's almost
Hmm.
like a neck pour sample, really, versus I've
Right.
had the bottle open for a while, so it might be a little bit different if they bought the bottle and tried it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's never too much information for me, that's why I'm a groupie for Compass Box's website. Them and Brooklight. I can't get enough of all the minutia and details for sure. Um, so Chad's had that Lagavulin charred oak, dangerously easy to drink. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's for sure.
It's like a silky smooth smoke to me.
Mm,
Um, I've had people that like peat, but sometimes it's like a little too much. It's
yeah.
like too harsh, and this is just like so good.
So,
Easily drinking.
what
That's
type
probably
of
the best way to
smoke?
describe it.
Is it
It's
campfire? Is it barbecue? I mean, not or is it
it's well, I've just had it the one time when we had that introductory call last week, but it just made me think more of a kind of barbecue smoke, but it was I don't know if it's a heavy charring, but it
the
had this
like the charcoal?
silky texture to it.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Don't you find that on all of Lagavulin though? I mean, it's almost like a three-dimensional. The 16 to me is like a three-dimensional like
I,
mouthfeel.
I must have a thing for heavily charred peated heavily charred cask peated whiskeys because one of my favorites is the Glenturrets from SMWS, and they usually are in heavily charred
Okay.
casks. So I think it's the combination of being peated, but then heavily charred as well too.
Right.
That almost charcoal on the inside of the barrel that filters some of that flavor.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is, but
Absolutely. So you've had Victoriana, huh? The Glen
yes,
Scotches?
yes, yes, very nice.
Love that char.
Yeah, yeah.
So awesome. So awesome. Um, so as a noob on training, do y'all ship them, meaning type, box, and container? Um, yeah, so I've poured samples and then, there are a couple of different shippers. US Postal Service does not like to ship, liquor, so there are other ways of doing it. Like I said, sometimes it comes by, Pelican. Sometimes you mule it from one place to the other. But I just ordered those little sample bottles as 1 ounce ones. I even have a affiliate link on that video from Amazon, and just keep those on hand. I found a pack of 3 stainless steel funnels that have saved my sanity, um, at Albertsons of all places. And I keep a packet, a Ziploc bag of sample bottles and a funnel in my bottle bag, my rolling bottle bag that Jennifer gave me, um, wherever I go. Because you never know. If I'm going somewhere and I've got bottles that we're sharing and somebody wants one, it's last minute, I can pour a sample for somebody and they can go. I will say this about samples. George, there's no doubt. I know this came from George, no doubt, because the cutest bunny in all the land, especially on there. But I have samples. I can't remember who gave to me. So always put your name on the samples. Always let people know. And if someone gives you a sample and their name isn't on it, immediately write their name or initials or something like that. Because I get to a point and I don't get to the sample, and then I find it and I'm like, dang it, who gave this to me? Because I want to go tell them about it. So, yeah, it's really important to identify and let people know, because you want to complete the circle of letting that person know what you thought about it. And that kind of brings me back to, you were talking about tasting notes. So that spreadsheet that you have on each of your bottles and making sure you know when they open, do you chronicle tasting notes throughout the life of that bottle?
Not always. Usually, if I'm doing any kind of tasting notes, might put that on an Instagram post, but that's
Yeah.
about it. I don't
It's
usually go
it's
back and
hard
put
to
it.
be
I tried. I have
diligent
a
about that.
separate tab for that, and tried to capture it. But at the end
I've
of the
had
day,
great
when I look the
intentions.
way I describe whiskeys, I'm like, I cringe when I go back and read the notes, you know? So,
No,
yes, I do. I do.
no, no.
So,
So yeah. So anyway, let's see. I wanted to get back up to Kevin says, yeah, sometimes bottles die at the end of after being open, but some I'd say get better. I think the only ones I've had that were just not like, well, that's a little disappointing, was just at the very end. It was more my fault that I didn't kill it long ago. You know, it just there comes a point where you just need to either pour it in a smaller bottle to keep the oxidation down, or I did that earlier in my whiskey journey when I didn't know what I know now. You know,
mhm.
I
It
was
just depends upon the whiskey. I've had my favorite one to talk about, I guess, is the Glenturret from SMWS. And the first Advent Calendar I did, I had a bottle, open it up, I tried it. I thought, oh, it's okay. It's just okay. And then I thought, I'm going to include this in the calendar, be a nice, just based upon the name. It's kind of unique. And when we had it that day, I was like, this is so good. And it ended up being one of the participants' favorite whiskey of the whole calendar. So I went back to that and I was like, I'm gonna have to start looking seriously into that more. And each Glenturret bottle I've got has almost been like that. Neck pour, sample. It's good,
mhm,
but not my favorite. And I come back
right.
to it weeks later, maybe a month later, and it's like, oh my gosh, so much better, so different.
Yeah.
So
It is a big deal. Like I know when I went up, I'm trying to think, it was the first no, it was the first time I went to go see the dummies when Sean was doing that Highland Park dinner. Um Drew and I went out and he picked me up from the airport and we went and grabbed a drink, and it was the end of like a Glenfiddich 15, and it was like wah wah wah.
yeah.
I was like, and so then from then on I was like, yeah, can I see the bottle? you know, I'm okay. I'll deal with an egg pour, but the last tenth of a bottle, I'm like, in a public place. If it's my bottle, it's one thing. I know where it was controlled, right? But in a public place, like a restaurant or something, it gets a little dicey.
And
So
maybe
Martin, yeah. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was I was gonna say maybe some of that is also the ABV. If it's a
Yeah,
standard ABV and it's a heel of a bottle, yeah, it's really could fall flat.
yeah. Because I mean, you wonder if that 40 ABV was still probably like a 35 at that point. It
Yeah.
probably had evaporated a good number a bit. Um, so yeah, trading bottles, it is super easy, small box, bubble wrap. I end up bubble wrapping actually talk about the tape that you use, George.
Yeah, so what I ended up doing for new people that were getting a box, sample is as hard as I try to get them sealed tight. Sometimes they would leak if I send just regular samples out. They'll inevitably leak because I try to fill them as full as possible. But I use the parafilm around it to kind of help prevent that as well too and seal it. In the box, if I'm sending the full box, I included a lot of padding in the box as well too, to try to make sure it would be okay. Bubble wrap the box, and then as far as shipping, I used to do everything FedEx. Now I I do
Pelican,
um, Pelican, yeah, because
United States Pelican Service.
that's right, United States Pelican Service.
Yeah. So, and I will, like, if I'm bringing a bottle home, I like big bottles. I've gone to Dollar Tree. I love that store, and they have the 2-gallon Ziploc bags, and I've got bubble wrap or those inflatable tubes that
Mhm.
I'll put a whole bottle in, and then I put everything in a Ziploc bag. So usually when I send people samples, I'll do just like you do. I've used black electrician tape, which if it's new, it's okay. If it's old, it gets gummy, and you don't want to
Yeah.
mess with that. Um, but I like that parafilm. It's just kind of hard to find. You have to, I've found I have to order that. Um, I thought I could get it at Lowe's or Home Depot or something, but I haven't found it.
And I've also started, somebody had sent this to me, I think, Mark Brown had sent me some samples, and he had put them in a bag, a food saver bag, and, like, vacuum
Oh,
sealed them, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, man, that's brilliant." You can
Yeah.
put it in a regular, like, Ziploc bag or something like that, but it was vacuum sealed, it was almost
So
like
it's not
a
going to
a
move.
brick, it's not gonna move, and then you can
Right.
bubble wrap that. So,
Yeah.
I started doing that. First time I sent him back samples, I got a food saver and did that. It was all great. I had left the samples on the counter and was going to box it up and everything the next morning. And then I come and look, and even though I put my label and the tape around it, I looked at it later and I saw the ink had run. I'm like, oh, one of those samples. So I had to crack it open and then reseal it a little bit
Uh,
tighter. And yeah,
yeah, no, because
relabel.
it's pulling all the air out of that. So if there was any, yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that. Yikes. Yeah. So Martin, that's kind of how we, and I've also, it's like advent calendars and how to ship whiskey incognito. So uh I have included a bag of jambalaya mix that has noisy rice. Um I got one that had a thing of macaroni and cheese in it, just something that when you shook it, it didn't sound wishy like liquid. It sounded crunchy like pasta. Um Andrew
If it's
Butler sent me some that was aromatherapy oils. We've had hot sauce too, so just never know.
if it's winter and you're not sending it to somewhere south like Louisiana, very hot, maybe Milk Duds or something like that, Junior Mints, I foresee, but they might
Yeah,
melt
it,
and then not
it is
make
the
noise.
29th of November. They would have been toast. They would have been a glob
Yeah.
today. It was so warm. Yeah, yeah. So really good ideas about that. And I like using these little books. And especially so this is one of the things I'm going to do. I'm going to actually use the whiskey one because I don't know what all is in this one this year that you have planned, but I'm going to write my notes in this every time because I want to keep this with that box, and go through the years and have different ones. I think it's a great way to chronicle that, and then get back to you. So if you're doing one for yourself or to give to someone, it's a way to chronicle and document those tasting notes. With yours in the collective group, we have what, 20? You said, I think you said
About
the other
20
night.
people. Yeah.
So we have 20 folks, and we're doing a Zoom every night, and that's great if you can make it. There's a couple Tuesday nights I'm not gonna be able to make it, but I'll jump on there as fast as I can.
Sure.
And the thing is we'll be able to hear everybody else's impression of it, and then we'll do the reveal. So I love that part. I love it.
Yeah, when we started doing this, it was small, and it's kind of grown this year. 20, the max that I probably would do would be 22 because I'm doing one bottle, and it's a pour into sample bottles of
Right.
just that one bottle. And some of these since FSMWS, and we've been blessed all these years with our 750 milliliter bottle
Yeah.
size, and now they're going to 700. So then that means at least two less samples that I could pour. Um, yeah,
Yeah. That is really something. Well, yeah, so I hope everybody's kind of gotten an idea about how they can, not only get through some of their samples that people have given them, but it's permission to take the time to have that dram, and to be able to enjoy it. And it's tremendous. And I think it's a testament to the whiskey community in general is very generous, very giving, whether it's sharing of whiskey. I know Brian Kilco Whiskey has been doing a fundraiser. His dad has is working his way through treatment on pancreatic cancer, and they had a fundraiser for some of the expenses that he'll have to do. And the whiskey community came out in droves and did a super job in helping support that. And our little whiskey club here in Baton Rouge, we're about to Friday night, we're going to have our Toys for Tots fundraiser and the raffle. So we have all kinds of bottles. Well, it's not a raffle to buy the bottle. You get the bottle. And so these bottles, I want to say, I think there's probably like 50 or 60 bottles that have been donated. Last year, we raised $64,000 for Toys for Tots. That's what the whiskey community just does, some really great stuff. And the folks that are a part of this whiskey advent calendar or any other one that people make and give to others is just a testament of that generosity. So I feel privileged to get to participate, and we'll definitely like to do it. But I also want to know that I want to roll off and give somebody else an opportunity at some point. It's something to share.
Yeah.
For sure. So one other tidbit, I know we're coming up on the hour. Tomorrow is a big day, in that it's the last day of November, but it is also St. Andrew's Day, the national holiday of Scotland. And St. Andrews is the patron saint of Scotland. And that is the St. Andrew's cross on the saltire. I had to go make sure that I didn't butcher the name of the flag. I was almost called Gregor just to make sure I didn't mess that up. But yeah, it's a big deal. If we don't have haggis, I mean, I know that's more of a Burns night thing, but we'll probably go find some boudin because that's the closest we got to haggis here in South Louisiana. That's for sure. But yeah, so I want to thank everybody. George, thank you again. And we're gonna go here in a bit, but I want you to hang on for a quick moment afterwards. So
Sure.
just sit back for a second.
All right. Thank you, Lee.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for coming in and sharing your passion for giving, and sharing whiskey. You have a great taste in whiskey and a very generous soul, friend. And I'm really, really super happy to know you. Because the whiskey tastes great, but the people are it, they really, really are.
Yeah.
So I will say thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. And to Scotland and Sláinte, y'all. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, y'all.